great to be here. As Dave mentioned, my roots are on the Iron Range of Minnesota. My grandpa worked 1,500 feet underground in the mines. I never graduated from college, never graduated from high school, and he saved money in a coffee can in the basement of their little house so he could send my dad to college. And my dad ended up, as Dave mentioned, being a newspaper man, and now I'm here today, the granddaughter of an iron ore miner as a United States Senator. And the one thing about my grandpa was that he also loved the woods. And he would always go out and get blueberries. When the blueberries were out, he loved to hunt. And I always saw that balance. So I grew up with the Blue-Green Alliance in my own family. So I'm very excited about the effort you're making. And it is an effort. When I think back of the change on this issue, the change on the climate change issue and the environmental issues, just even over the last 2 years, it used to just be kids with penguin buttons that would come up, my daughter's age, and talk to me about this when I was campaigning, even in 2005, 2004, and it's completely changed. The culmination of this, for me, was some of the blue-green people that came over, some students that came over to the Hart Building where my office is, and it was on a Monday, and so there weren't a lot of other senators there. And so there I was, and it was right when I had first started out, and they all had these green helmets on, and we're in there, and they come over, and they start, I go, hey, you guys, let's go down in the atrium. And so we start this chant. I don't even remember what it was. It was like, green jobs, blah, blah. And we're like, this is so fun. And I'm saying to my staff, how come no one ever does this? This is so great. We're yelling, and all of a sudden, like 5 cops come. They go, you can't do this in the Hart Atrium. So luckily we didn't get arrested. But it was a reminder to me of just the grassroots nature of this movement and the importance of young people in getting this done. But it isn't just young people. It's hunters in Minnesota who see how global warming is affecting the wetlands. It's fishermen who put their ice houses out later because it takes longer for the lakes to freeze. It's business leaders in Duluth who are seeing the effect when the ice melts too quickly and then the water levels go down and it's harder to get the barges in. And it's city council members in places like Lanesboro, Minnesota, who've decided they're going to take this into their own hands and change the light bulbs out. That's what this has been about. It's been a grassroots effort from the beginning. But the other thing that's changed for average people is they see the economics of conservation. You know, this is no longer just Jimmy Carter sitting in his sweater looking glum saying we have to do something about this. This is something that people see as a way to save money in very difficult times for their families, whether it's figuring out how to use cold water in their washing machine or putting on some gauge on their thermometers so they can figure out when best to have their heating on or off on their temperature control, or it's getting cars and trucks that get better gas mileage. And I was proud to be part of the bipartisan compromise where we made our first step, where we finally, after years of inaction, increased the gas mileage standards for this country. I still remember, and I think Dave has heard this story, to see the changing times. I stood up there and I was brand new. I thought, here I am, you know, brand new senator. We just made this dramatic move to increase the gas mileage standards by 10 miles per gallon. And I was one of the first to speak. We had about 10, 12 senators up there. And I said, you know what? This is a long time in coming. These gas mileage standards haven't gone up since I was in junior high. I was then followed by 2 senior United States senators who said they had both worked on the initial gas mileage standards. So that was the last time I told that story. But again, we're seeing this change. And we're also seeing a change in the elected officials. Slowly but surely, as Senator Stabenow told you, we're seeing some change, and we're seeing some bipartisan work in this area. I know the debate on the climate change bill this last summer was disappointing to some people, but I really did consider it, as our great chairman, Senator Boxer, does, that this was a great stride. We actually got the bill out there. We got a majority of the senators supporting it. We didn't get enough to beat the filibuster, but we were able to really get our colleagues out there thinking about a very complicated issue, that it was more than just rhetoric. They had to figure out how it would affect their states. And we know we need to make improvements with this bill, but we knew from the very beginning we didn't have a president who was going to sign it. I mean, we would have needed 67 votes, right, to override a veto. Everyone knew that. So as a result, a lot of the senators didn't stretch to where they could to support it put themselves on the line. Why would they? They knew that it would be vetoed anyway. So I think the fact that we were able to do so well, get some bipartisan support, a tribute to all of us, truly was the big first step we needed to take. And now we need to get it done. The opportunities here are enormous. And I'll just tell you, I was just on a 22-county tour of Minnesota in December, when you always want to take one. And I just saw firsthand, and I was out pitching for our new president's great economic recovery plan, which, as you know, he has a major focus on energy and infrastructure, with more to come, let me tell you, with more to come. But I was out talking to people in their state. I was just really pleasantly surprised at how people get it, how they see this as a new opportunity. You know, whether it is the solar panel factory in southern Minnesota that I visited, where they had me jump up and down on the solar panels to show that they can withstand hail damage, which unfortunately they put up on their website, or whether it is the bed and breakfast that they've opened up in Pipestone, Minnesota. And there's the package deal. If you guys are looking for a romantic weekend, this is it. You come to Pipestone, Minnesota, you look at some wind turbines, and you stay overnight in the bed and breakfast, and then you get up in the morning and you look at more wind turbines. That's it. That's the package. But again, you just see the entrepreneurship that's going on across this country. And one of my favorites that I actually visited this past December was in Sebeka, Minnesota, and it's a little telephone company. And we were there to hear about, they've been doing some innovative things with broadband and getting higher speed internet out there. But what we found out when we got there was that they also had started a side business. And it was because their customers and were in such remote areas that they had power outages. And it was actually very dangerous. They're out there with, in farms with no power. And so what they'd done is put together a sort of a package with solar panels and wind turbines, small wind, obviously, for individual homes and farmhouses, and sold it to their customers as backup system. And it was just going tremendously well. They had actually developed this whole thing on their own. They had like a graveyard of small wind turbines in the back that they felt weren't quite perfect until they find the perfect match. And they told us a story of how one man who was 80 years old had decided to outfit his entire house in the solar panels with a wind turbine. And they explained to him, they said to him, you know, sir, we will do this, but it's going to take like 10 years to get back all your investment when you're doing this so intensively. And he looked at these guys, remember this little town in northern Minnesota, and he says, the 80-year-old guy goes, that's okay, I want to go green. And so those are the stories that we're hearing all across this state, all across this country. Now, you know we're going to have to do this in a partnership, which is what I love about the Blue-Green Alliance. And one of the analogies I've been making lately, we had Tom Friedman come in for a hearing, and we were talking about the investment in this, and we had some venture capitalists there, is some of the differences between the IT and the ET revolution. The IT being information technology, of course, ET, you all know, energy technology. And there's a few differences that are very apparent. The first is IT tended to be, not always, but tended to be in set geographic areas, like in Silicon Valley, like in California. Didn't really help much in Sebeka, Minnesota. And so I believe with the ET revolution, you're going to see it spread out more across this country. You're going to see it going from coast to coast and in the smallest towns, as long as we get, as Senator Stabenow pointed out, these policies right. The other thing about this is if we do this right, and President Obama clearly understands this, is we're going to see a wider range of jobs across demographic levels. That this isn't just going to be about people with graduate and doctorate degrees that are going to be able to make a living off of the ET revolution. It's going to be jobs across the spectrum, manufacturing jobs. Constructing wind farms creates jobs for sheet metal workers, for machinists and truck drivers. Increasing the energy efficiency of buildings through retrofitting requires roofers, insulators, electricians.